Welcome, guys, back to the Fleet Brothers channel, and we have another podcast with a very special guest. You all very likely know because that's probably how you found this channel in the first place for the majority of you. We got the Financial Wolf is in town.
I'm excited to be back in Denver, baby.
Hell yes. So it's been a while, and there's a lot of updates. I'm sure in the last video, people were left on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, we got a lot of unsettled beef that we're going to settle on this podcast. We got a lot to talk about. The fleet has changed in so many ways since the last time I've been here. So
yeah.
We're going to touch on that in my video, but this is going to be an interesting podcast because it's not only going to be like the full version is going to be on the Arslan Fleet channel, and then I'll probably be using clips for this for my channel. So
yeah, which is really cool because I had the pleasure of seeing your like behind the scene action because I've been a part of your videos for a year now, and so I kind of understand what it takes for you to make your videos. But a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of you asking questions and then me giving a bad answer and probably having to redo it. So if I give a bad answer, we're just going to keep running with it and just keep going until I like the answer or you like the answer. So it'll be really cool for everybody else to see that and see us struggle through it. So the clean final cut is obviously going to be on your video. Thank you for joining for the rough cut of this venture that we're going through.
How do we want to start this off? I got into Denver at 3 p.m. today. Right away, we took the shuttle over, or I took the shuttle over to where we park our Turo cars, and Christian and you were nice enough to give me a car. First, I thought I was going to get a Jeep Cherokee, which is what you guys will see in the video is like me picking up a Turo car. But once I drive over, because afterwards I met up with you and Christian and the guy who owns the parking lot, or he's a big manager of it or something, the parking lot we use now for the Turo cars. And Christian was like, yo, would it be cool if I swap you to a better car? He gave me
deluxe vehicle.
Bro, he gave me a $70,000 Jeep Wrangler 2024, I think. It's like a brand new car. And I'm like, bro, I do not feel comfortable with this. Like, I'm a terrible driver. Like, I don't know why I'm getting a $70,000 car, but I basically got it for like free. I literally got it for free.
Yeah.
I just had to put a $750 deposit since we still went through Turo. And they're like, yeah, it's such an expensive vehicle. We're going to need you to put like $750 deposit down. So, bro, if hail comes or if I crash that thing,
you're not getting that deposit back, that's for sure.
At least that, if not worse.
Yeah, it depends on how much Christian wants to gouge you.
Yeah.
But also it was kind of funny, and I can say that right now because this is probably going to come out after you've returned the Jeep in hopefully good condition. But we get into the car, and Christian was like, oh, Will, you'll be fine. Like, just take it out. Like, we'll swap it over later. You got insurance, right? And Will's like, yeah, like my insurance should cover it. And then Will and I get into the car and sit down, and Will's like, I know it covers my car, but I don't
I don't think
know.
It covers Turo cars. Like,
yeah, I don't know if it covers a rental car. So then and there I was like, okay, we're not going far at all. We're going to go out of the lot. We're going to say thank you to Christian, and we're going to call Turo support and get it swapped over. Because I'm a custodian on Christian's profile, so I have the ability to make a car swap. And so as we're driving and being very careful.
And being on the Turo call for 30 minutes. Like, they're like, oh, let me transfer you. That's the thing about Turo that sucks is like when you were managing all those cars by yourself, you were literally on the phone like 8 hours a day. Insane. Just because any little thing that you have to call Turo for takes like 30 minutes.
It's the worst. I honestly, like, half my job was sitting on a Turo support call, and it was the worst because, as you guys know, we grew so insanely fast because Financial Wolf was doing his marketing magic and getting people our way. So when you grow that fast, certain things like quality suffers. So I had to deal with like fires, putting out fires left and right. And so I just lived on Turo support calls, and it was not fun. But I will say I learned so much about Turo and how to maneuver like all the calls and everything because I had to deal with so many issues.
And how have things changed for you in these like last 6 months? Because it's been a while since I've been out here. So how have like your day-to-day changed like since then?
So I don't manage cars anymore. That's the biggest change. That's something that was kind of necessary because when we were doing the management, and as you know, I would always be bringing a new, different idea to the table. Like we wanted to do more of a service helping or put cars onto other hosts' profiles and working with other hosts so that we didn't have to do all the management ourselves. So that's one big thing that I wanted to do. And then I also wanted to work on the GPS product that we're coming out with, the Fleetwire GPS. I've been able to take a step back from like the day-to-day monotonous, repetitive tasks of managing a vehicle. And now I'm able to build systems that support hosts who manage the cars for the clients.
Definitely a little bit less stressful too, because like before with like the management, to be honest with you guys, like it wasn't super profitable. Like we really weren't making that much money on the ongoing management, just because it really works better at scale. Like now we have like a parking lot that first of all actually allows Turo cars, whereas before we were kind of sneaking around. We also had like other issues just growing quick, and like we learned a lot like along the way that I think now that we have Christian, it's just been a lot easier. And I say we, but I left the company, so I don't know why I keep saying that. But
I do appreciate the we. It's kind of like if you have a fan of a sports team and they refer to them in the sports team as we, just because you're a big fan of the company.
Exactly.
So,
and hey,
and you did build this thing with us. Like you were a huge part of building.
And I still get to come out here, film about the fleet, like get YouTube content just like before. I think a little bit less stressful because I don't know, how is it being partners with like me and your brother?
Good question. You and Chris both shared the sentiment of, more so Chris, right? You were just making videos and it resulted in a bunch of leads. You weren't necessarily like, hey, we need to grow like super fast and take on more and more and more and more. Like that just happened as a result. But obviously Chris, when he has access to that many leads, Chris is just a natural sales guy at heart. So he wants to sell everybody on the dream of putting the car on Turo. That makes it very stressful, because we're at 30 cars and I'm like, we need to figure this out. Like we need to get certain things in place, and we could manage like 30 was pretty easy for us. But as we kept going, we would put on more and more cars. And I think the growth was so insanely fast that the quality suffered, which I hated. Like I'm very much like, I like high quality processes. And my big thing, like what makes me tick, is building a process that functions insanely well. And so we just had to pay to fix things as we were growing that fast, resulted in guests being upset with things, clients not getting information or communication on time. And so I will say, now that we're not growing that fast, it's been a lot easier to take a step back and be like, what does this company really need, and how can I really make it as beneficial as possible to both the hosts that we work with and the clients that we work with. So it's a really cool role that I'm able to take on now, instead of just doing everything all at once.
And also to tell you guys, like it was really interesting because like when we were managing all those cars ourselves, like if you think about it, you have one Turo car, you buy a car that needs some work, not a big deal. If you don't have automated messaging for one or two Turo cars, not a big deal, you can handle it. But when you have like little things like that aren't streamlined, and you have 30 cars, you have 30 different guests potentially picking up a car in a single day, and every single one of them is asking specifics like, oh, where's the lockbox, where's this, the questions. It's just hard to get back to everyone, and it just kind of like gets very difficult. So at scale, it's definitely important. It's
tough. And we had an employee who would do cleaning for us at the airport, who was also a bank robber in his past life. We found out later.
Yeah, because we'd always hire like really cheap people from Craigslist. And we're like, dude, they're killing it, they're gonna do this for cheap, they're going to do a good job.
I will say hard workers, like very hard workers, but just like didn't know how to execute certain things correctly.
Yeah, and he was just like, I don't even know. Like he went to jail. Like I guess like that's the type of guy. He would get really heated and overwhelmed super easily. Like one time we were messing around. Should I even say this? I prank called him.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. I prank called him. What did I even do? I used like an automated I used like an automated it's called prank.io or prankdial.io. It's basically like an automated message to prank call people, and like the message was like, "Did you hit my car?" This dude was like messing with him, like he hit his car and he left a note and he's just calling him about it, and like this dude's freaking out about it. He's like, "What? I didn't hit your car." And like Aaron was like, "Bro, you can never tell anyone that you prank called him."
And here we are.
But hey,
here we are.
He doesn't work
He might
with
not
us
see
anywhere.
this. We'll see. Yeah, that was bad. I think enough time has passed that he could find out about it and not murder you. So fingers crossed. We'll see.
But yeah, my favorite part about this business is like, not only did we like get to build something kind of cool, but we would have so much fun while I was out here.
Yeah.
Just like doing like funny stuff. Like even while we were like working, just like funny stuff would happen.
It would be work, and then Will would get to town, and then there'd be some funny stuff. So, yeah, what you experienced was great. Yeah, ton of fun. But there was actual work going on as well. Little did you know. When Will comes to town, shit kind of hits the fan sometimes.
We could talk about it.
I don't know if you want to talk about the
about
parking lot situation.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it.
So as you guys, I'm sure saw was it your most recent video on the fleet?
The second most recent, I think.
Okay, so Will comes out to Denver, and we had just hired a new cleaner. Her name was, he goes by Izzy, and who's out at the parking lot cleaning all the cars, washing them down. He did a great job. And Will comes out with his camera, and he's like, "What's up, Izzy? I'm Will. I'm the YouTuber." And then he puts the camera up in his face. He's doing like all this stuff in the parking lot.
I'm like, "Oh, so you're cleaning cars and we're not allowed to be here? Oh my God."
Yeah. And so a security guard comes up, and he's like, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Like, you can't be cleaning cars here." And then Will's like, "We're not cleaning cars. That's not what's happening," and gets all sassy with this guy and puts the camera up in his face, and he's like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do about
That's
it?"
not what I said.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. I had to come and de-escalate the situation as much as possible, and I was like, "I'm sorry. I've done this multiple times. Where I have to step in and be like, I'm so sorry about him. He's a YouTuber. He's not like one of us. He's just trying to, rile you up for video content." And I try to like de-escalate it, but this guy wasn't having it. Like he was still pretty upset even after I like talked to him and was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Like we do business here. Please don't kick us out." And then he reports us, like the head of the parking lot. She's like the manager of the parking lot, who I had a good relationship with at the time. And then she got word of it, and I called her on the way home to get ahead of it. And I was like, "Hey," I don't even remember her name. I haven't talked to her since. So
I remember that.
Yeah. And I was like, "Hey, like, I want to say what's going on." I don't know what I said, but I said something about like, "Oh yeah, we, heard through the grapevine that you're not supposed to clean cars at the parking lot. Like, is that true?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't be doing that." And I was like, "Okay, can we follow up tomorrow? Because I would love to, talk more with you." And she's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And then she gets an email from the security guard.
I didn't know this.
Yes. Yeah. And then she gets an email from the security guard, cancels our meeting. We are no longer allowed, like strict. We will get kicked out of this parking lot if we clean another car in the parking lot. Never talk to her again.
Just because that guy got so triggered.
Yeah. And so what we had to do from then on, like we had a good setup at that point because we would
that parking lot sucked.
It did suck. Cars would get stolen from it, as y'all know. But we would literally go into the parking lot, spray down the cars, wash them, wipe them down, and then they'd be ready for the next renter. We wouldn't have to leave the parking lot because if you leave the parking lot, you have to pay for parking, which talk about us draining our bank account. The amount of times that we would go in and out of the parking lot, like every single time, $8, which as you can imagine adds up with 50 cars. And so once Will got us kicked out of doing the cleaning in the parking lot, now every single car had to be cleaned outside of the parking lot, which means every single car cost us $8. Just boom, boom, boom. And so, yeah, that happened. But that was also towards the end of us being in that parking lot anyway. There were other issues, not to make you feel bad.
But yeah, I don't know what it is, but like when I'm filming and someone comes up to me and tells me to leave, like especially when they're like, when I feel like I'm not doing anything that's bothering other people, like to be honest, guys, like we were in a parking lot. Who's really going to care that we're filming cleaning a car? Yeah. We're taking up 2 spaces maybe. We're really not making that big of a disturbance. And when that guy came up to me, I was like, "Dude, screw this dude." And I know that's not the right thing to do. Like, I'm not claiming that's the right thing to do. But I just get like this thing where I'm like, I want to like piss this guy off.
Yeah.
And like that's
and
happened.
It works.
And that happened before. The first time I ever came out to Denver, there was this spot we always take photos at. It's like in front of the Denver Stadium. We'll maybe pop up some pictures of cars we've taken, of pictures of cars we've taken. And like I remember these ladies came up to us. And do you remember that? They were like, "Hey, you guys can't take photos here."
The police were on their way.
Really? What did I do again?
Well, you were like, it was something along the lines of she came up. No, so a guy came up first in his little security buggy, and he's like, hey, y'all got to go. Because we had 6 cars. If you go to the Arslan Fleet website, the picture of me and Chris with a bunch of cars behind us, it was that day.
There's also a picture of us 3, I think.
That day, we have a bunch of cars there because that was your first time coming out. And we were like trying to flaunt the cars we were managing. And so all of them are at the parking lot. Obviously looks like a big business promotion, and you're not allowed to do that at the parking lot. And so the guy comes up, the security guard in his little like cart comes over, and he's like, y'all got to go. Like, y'all got to get out of here. And Will's like, what do you mean we have to get out of here?
Well, I think he came up and I wasn't filming it. So I was like, oh, let me like get the camera. So he explains that we're kicked out. Even though like that stuff usually doesn't go in my videos. Like, I don't know why I film it. I think I watch too many prank channels. That's an issue I have. Like, I watch way too many like prank channels of people like riling up employees, and I'm always like, oh, that's good content, I should film it. And then I remember I'm a finance channel. But so I think I was like filming him and asking him, and then they came up too.
Yeah, so he was, y'all got to go. You're like, no. And then I think he called his manager. The manager was the lady that hated you. So the manager comes over. She's like, basically, you were being annoying to her because you were like filming her and being like, this is public land, like something dumb when we were literally on private property. And she's like, no, you have to go. I was standing close enough, like within an earshot of them, and I overheard their conversation, and she was like, just call like Denver PD and get them out of here.
I remember she called me purple shorts.
Yeah, she was calling you purple shorts because you were wearing purple shorts. And so I overheard that, and then I was like, fuck, like I need to, because I still wanted to use that spot. It's the best spot in Denver.
You still use it, right?
Or I still use it.
Yeah.
And so I go up to her and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't even know this guy. Honestly, I also think he's really annoying. Like, just literally talking shit about Will to get on her side, just like saying whatever would make her happy. And then she was like, yeah, you know what? Like, you and your brother, because I told her that Chris was my brother. And I was like, she was like, yeah, you and your brother, you guys are fine. Like, it's just purple shorts kid. He's being super disrespectful and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. We're gonna move everything out of the parking lot right now. Like, this won't happen again. You'll never have to see that kid again.
It's just fun. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's so weird. I just
and
love
so
it.
But whatever. And so yeah, we ended up, she told them to tell the police not to come, and
That's
we were
good.
fine. That one was a bit crazy. But in your defense, the guy at the parking lot, the fucking security guard at the Pikes Peak lot, he was just having a bad day. Like, that guy got mad about nothing at all. It was so dumb.
I probably could have like made it better, but yeah, that guy was just like in a bad mood. Like, I don't know, just like when someone comes at me in a certain way when I'm trying to do something, I just like match the energy times 10, and then it just goes way up, and then I'm like, that's probably not the way to do things, but
Yeah, whatever.
hey, but it makes for good stories like podcasts and stuff. So
Yeah, and here we are.
But otherwise, like, how was your experience like working with Chris on Arslan Fleet?
So obviously I started managing cars on Turo like 3 years ago at this point. I had 2 cars of my own. I was trying to get into managing other people's cars to make more money because I hated my job, and I was like, I need to figure a way out. And so he's the one that came to me with the idea to make it into a full-fledged business. Like, he was like, dude, you know how good I am at sales. I will get as many cars as humanly possible for you to manage. Like, let's just do this. So without Chris, like, I would not be where I am today. I would probably be working some corporate job, just hating it. He is like one of the hardest workers I know. Like, he's a workaholic. And I think at the time I wasn't too aligned with that. Like, I wasn't working that hard. I just wanted to like make enough to get by or whatever. But he kind of helped me see how possible things are. Like, if you actually just go balls to the wall and do as much as you can to make something successful, it was really cool to work with him for that. And like, no one better than to do that than my brother. Obviously, people tell you don't get into business with family, which I now understand because there were certain like issues that arise that wouldn't arise if it was just your brother in some different job.
I mean, what he means by that is like eventually like Chris kind of wanted to leave and like do his own thing. And then it gets weird with like the buyouts and stuff because it's like you're negotiating with a family member. And like for me, it's even weird because I kind of became friends with you guys too. So like you want to make the best business decision, but you're also like boys with these people. So it's like, damn, like, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, like you want to hook it up for your brother. I didn't want him to feel like he was getting screwed over because at the time that he was bought out, the company on paper wasn't worth as much as he felt like the company was worth. The potential of the company, because of the credibility that we built and everything, worth a lot more than the bank account showed. He saw that and he was obviously trying to get what he thought the company was worth and trying to get bought out for that, when me and Will were like, dude, the company's not worth that. Cut and dry. If you talk to any accountant in the world, like they're just going to tell you it's worth X amount. That was the most stressful time of the company, just in general.
Yeah, I remember like those calls were so annoying. Like just like in my house, like talking to you guys on the phone for like literally an hour and a half sometimes, just like going back and forth in circles on the same exact thing. I'm like, dude, I am wasting my time right now on this. I just want this to be done. But eventually we ended up settling. I think we overpaid him, but hey, it's okay. It's Chris. And I mean, you're going to make that money back tenfold. So it's really not a big deal long term. It just temporarily kind of set everyone back a little bit just because it is a capital intensive business that we do. Even though like we're really not buying the cars ourselves, we just need a lot of money to like, you know, a lot of times there's just like things we're investing in.
And the labor was a big one. Mm-hmm. You know, we had a 50 car fleet, so obviously you need to pay people to run it.
Was it 50 at the end when we were managing?
Yeah, I think we ended at 50, and now, you know, Christian's kind of run with it, but
we're at 80 now.
It's insane.
We're going to be filming really a full main channel video on that. So it'll probably be out by the time this is out.
Yeah. I think the important thing is if you are going into business with a family member and you are going through something tough like that, by all means, you cannot let that ruin a relationship. Like that is by far the most important thing, is make sure that the relationship is still there at the end of the day. And even during, like in the middle of the whole buyout situation, I remember Chris called me. He was like, hey dude, like, you know, I still love you. Like, you're my brother. We're going to come out of this and just like figure it out. This will be a thing of the past once we're done. It was basically like, there's no way that this is getting in between us at the end of the day, because how dumb would it be to get into business together, build something genuinely successful, and then ruin a relationship because of that thing you built. I thought that was really cool, and ended up being the best man at his wedding. His wedding was last month, so I was best man, planned his whole bachelor party, gave a whole speech and all of that, and like we're honestly on as good of terms as literally ever. It's really cool how like we maneuvered that whole situation and ended up where we are now. But yeah, dude, stressful when we're going through it for sure.
So I'm curious, Aaron, how much money are you making now from Arslan Fleet? Because I remember when I left, the revenue figures were good. Profit wasn't quite there yet. Where are you at now?
Yeah, so I'm doing what I would consider a relaunch of Arslan Fleet. So honestly, for the last few months, I've literally just been building things and not making money. It's been pretty much enough I've been taking on a few clients just to keep even, but I have been grinding since you left basically, and I transitioned things to Christian managing them. I've just been building processes and getting things to the point where I'm ready to start making money. Like I think I've finally turned the corner with the GPS is ready to be sold. Client dashboard that I told you about is ready to go live.
And how is that going to make money?
So basically now it's going to be even better for a host and a client to work through an Arslan Fleet host, right?
Yeah, basically what that is like a client can go on their like little page and they see how much money their car's making in real time.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, oh, they have to wait till the end of the month to know what their payout is. Whereas now they can log in and see the dashboard of how much money they're making, and it's a lot better of a situation because you can just go in and update it and they can like check that every day.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say the biggest issues for us when we were doing all the management was communication to clients, because people would be like, hey, like how much money has my car made this month? Hey, can you send me, you know, like the expenses breakdown? And we would have to like literally hire an accountant to figure that stuff out and pay her way too much. And so now we have something that every single expense on the car is sitting right there in front of the client and the host all at the same time. If the client has any questions about that stuff, then they just log on to there and they see the expense information. And then not only that, but we also have a section where the host can report any services that are needed on the car. Say, for example, the windshield chips on a car. That's another thing that clients would get upset about. You know, if something happens to the car and we don't communicate it in time And then we're like, hey, you owe us money for this. And they're like, I didn't even know that happened.
It was kind of like we tell them once a month. So like they wouldn't really know in between. It would be like at the end of the month, here's how your car did. By the way, we had to do this repair.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And they're like, oh, I kind of wish I knew this like in real time so I could know what to expect by the end of the month, which is understandable.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be something that in live time every single day, like anytime a host reports damage on a car, the client will get that information in live time. Any services that are needed on the cars, any reservations that are upcoming on their specific vehicles, any expenses on their vehicles, and then of course all of the earnings information on their vehicles. So all of that is now at the client's fingertips on command.
Dude, that's sick. I'm excited to see how much money you end up making, how the business ends up going. I can tell that you're passionate about this because, bro, you've been doing this for almost, a year and a half at least now,
Yep.
just this business. And it's kind of crazy that like you haven't made like any crazy money from it yet, but you're just consistently grinding. And like the same thing happened for me with YouTube. Like I would say that I started YouTube, I think I started on June 6th of 2018, and I didn't make any real money from it. I'm talking like a couple thousand a month until November of 2019. So what, a year, it was a grind. I could say that.
Yeah, it's a grind. It's like sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, my resume at this point is pretty good. I've been running a company solo for the last 6 months at a pretty large scale, and I could easily parlay that into a pretty high paying salary at a W-2 job.
And you also have a degree. Let's mention that. That's
And
big in W-2 world.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like the perfect fit for a W-2 job.
Why won't you do it?
It's very tempting, obviously, to just be like, all right, let me take a fat bag from a W-2 job. I don't even have to work that hard. But it is so not rewarding at all. I was working at ADP and I was like a mid performer. And right now, running my own company, I am like firing on all cylinders every single day because I genuinely care about what I'm doing. And if I'm selling somebody else's thing or if I'm building something for someone else's company, I'm not going to be my best self. Out of self-respect, I need to put myself in a situation where I can work as hard as possible for me instead of working a mediocre, amount for somebody else.
You're probably the same way. I'd rather make like 20 grand a year working for myself. Eventually maybe 50 grand a year working for yourself. You got to like live.
Let's go.
Versus 100 grand a year or 150 grand a year working for a company. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like so much more fun to like do your own thing. You're passionate about it. You can actually see growth opportunities. Whereas like you hear people that work at W-2 jobs. And even like my dad, who's been like pretty successful to most people at like a W-2 job. It took him like a really long time to even make like 100 grand. Like he was in his 30s, almost 40 years old. That's kind of crazy how long that takes. Whereas like with your own business, it might start out at like nothing, but it's exponential.
Yep.
Like you can make zero for the first 3 years and then you figure something out and boom, you can make 100, 200K, $1 million a year. And it's just like that aspect of being able to grow something that you actually care about too is sick.
I think a big thing is just like if you can survive running your own company and making minimal money for a certain amount of time, like if you are truly looking for every single opportunity to make it more profitable, scale larger, all these things, knocking out the fluff, like always trying to adapt what the market actually needs, you will find it and you will make money. Every single industry that you can possibly go into, there is so much money to be made. There's like a millionaire in every single industry. So if you stick in one industry, you're going to figure it out because imagine, somebody in a W-2 job, they've got blinders on. They don't see the full scope of things. And when you are running a company and you have to know every single aspect of what you're doing, you're going to understand it so well that you're going to find that niche and be able to make money on that niche.
Yeah.
So like for me, we started off, we were managing cars and just the style that we wanted to do and the growth that we wanted, it didn't fit well with also doing the day-to-day management, even though it's still a good source of income for hosts that want to do that. I didn't think that was aligning with what I wanted to do long term. Like I didn't want to manage cars forever. So obviously we transitioned.
Because managing cars like in a big way is kind of a day-to-day job. Like it's like a full-time job to manage that many cars. Like you're out there every day doing the entire thing. And that's cool for people who want to do it. But I think it's cool to just like go beyond that too. That's like more of a job almost at that point.
So now the partnerships that I've made, because I was so ingrained in working 100% in the Turo industry, I now have a partnership with Fleetwire, right? So Fleetwire, as a lot of y'all know that know Turo, Fleetwire is basically one of the top 2 third-party management solutions. So Chad at Fleetwire, he developed something where individuals who have their own rental companies can go and rent out a car privately using his platform. He literally builds like your own custom, essentially Turo page. And so people can go online, see all the vehicles that you have available for rent and select your vehicles using the Fleetwire system. So I connected with him because we were interested in private rental at the time. And then one thing led to another. And now we literally have built a GPS company together.
Is sick. Today, Aaron was like, yo, I think it would be cool for you to start your video picking up a car, like one of our cars, which I talked about. And he's like, basically, you're just going to go through the process like any normal guest would. And it was really cool. Like he sends me the GPS coordinates to the car. I take the shuttle over to where the parking lot's at, which was really easy to do. And then I go in, find the car using the GPS and unlock it. It was sick. Like you just click one button, the car unlocks for you. You can start it up. It was really nice. Like before you have to find where the lockbox is, put the code in. Someone might snatch the lockbox off of the vehicle. Like it's just a rough situation.
Dude, it solves so many things all at once, because not only is it just easy and convenient for you to sit there and press unlock and get into the car, but also the reason we had 3 cars stolen in 3 weeks was because we had lockboxes on the cars. Having a window lockbox on your car literally puts a target on your car's back for theft. So at some point, if somebody has ill will, if they're looking at a car and it has a lockbox on it, where do you think the keys are?
In the lockbox.
In the lockbox. So somebody's going to come over to that car, smash it open, and get the keys. Like that's just going to happen. So now we've removed the need for a lockbox. And another thing that we had an issue with at Arsenal Fleet when we were managing cars is we would somehow, this was so dumb, but our employee could not keep track of the codes to the lockboxes, and he would switch them from window to window. We would have guests coming to the car in 20-degree weather in the winter at night and not be able to get into the cars. Like the amount of people that would show up to a car late at night and be like calling me, Aaron, I'm literally freezing and my hands are numb trying to put this combination in and I can't figure it out. And I would feel horrible. Like that was one of those things that would keep me up at night.
And that was Chris T.
Yes. Correct.
That guy sucked, honestly. Like, he did so many dumb mistakes. Like, he was also supposed to clean the cars. And I was like, bro, your job is to vacuum. Vacuum the crumbs. Like, it's not that hard. Like, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, God. Like, that should not be hard.
It was rough.
We kept that guy on for like 9 months, too. I swear.
He was cheap labor. Had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we can avoid that. Like, that's a thing of the past. I don't think Christian understands how easy I've made it on him. The fact that he doesn't have to deal with the Pikes Peak parking lot where cars get stolen left and right from.
Who found the new lot?
I got word of that through the grapevine, and then I passed it along to him. And that was the same week that he took over management. And I was like, it would be this week. It would be this week that he gets it.
I feel like in a lot of ways, like it's funny because, and I mean, it comes back to you, so don't worry about it. But I feel like you've done a lot for Turo as a whole. Like you've advanced it in a lot of ways without necessarily getting credit for it. Even the guy we talked to today, like he was talking about like the whole process and stuff. And it's like, I wish like people gave you more credit for like what you do. Cause like you're always working with other people. And I feel like they take most of the credit for a lot of the things that you're doing.
I just know Turo like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Now. Like it's insane. And I think you're right. Like it's going to come around, you know, the systems that I've put together that are being launched here shortly, and everything's going to be aligning with your video, which I'm really excited for. Like it's sick that you're coming out at this time. Like even the fact that you postponed by like 2 weeks to get here, the GPS wouldn't have been ready, but now it's ready. You know, everything's lining up really well. Like I'm really excited about how things look right now. But yeah, just because I understand things so well with Turo, I'm also beginning to understand where I get to make money finally, which is going to be really exciting.
What's your goal for the next year? How much money a month profit do you want to be making?
I don't know. I'm going to work as hard as possible.
But set a goal. I always like to set a goal for me personally. I don't know if that would be the same for other people.
I wouldn't know where to start.
Are you
Like,
not money motivated?
I am. I definitely am. Like, I'm lifestyle motivated.
What would you do differently if you made more money?
It would probably be health focused first. Like, as you know, I'm a health focused person. And I think I would probably put my money initially towards like a meal prep service, because dude, the amount of like stress that I get from being like, oh my God, what is the next meal? I don't know the nutrition in it. Like, I don't know this stuff in it. If I could just have a meal arrive at my doorstep, put it in the microwave, and know exactly what was in it, I would spend most of my money off the bat on that. And then otherwise, I'm just a cheap person. Like, I don't need much money.
We were even talking about this, like, to be upfront with you guys, like, the whole reason I actually first got into business is because I was like, dude, when I'm older, I want to have a Lambo, a fat house, like a rapper, basically. I saw people on the internet like having so much money, and I was like, I want like that crazy lifestyle. And then I was like, how do they get there? They own their own business. And then I was like watching a lot of YouTube. So I started doing YouTube videos of me doing side hustles, and it just kind of went from there. And now that I'm like 5 years into this plus, like I've been doing this since 2018. So it's literally over 5 years, like going on 6 years now, which is crazy. Wow, that's a long time. That's insane. But it's just like different now. Cause like we were talking about this today. Like I got that $70,000 car to rent on Turo. Like
Yeah, you're like, I don't want this.
I was like, I do not want this car, because if anything happens to it, that would be a pain in my ass. Like, I do not want to get expensive cars. Obviously, who knows if I was making a ton of money, but it's just like, yeah.
I mean, a big thing is just limit risk. Like, risk is one of the biggest things that will cause stress in your life. And if you just limit the amount of risk, like if you literally own nothing, you wouldn't have to stress about anything, because there would be nothing that could go wrong. Nothing could break. But when you have a super expensive car and a super big house and all of these things,
all these
like,
bills, you have like people that you're paying, like it gets stressful no matter how much money you're making.
If you don't have to put money towards a bunch of things, then you're not going to be too stressed. And I just want to have a stress-free life at the end of the day. Further answer your question, beyond getting like my food sorted, I think I would get a house. Probably the best thing is I would get a house that only I live in, and I could just pamper myself by having a nice house in a place that I want to live, and just do that. Somewhere that people would want to visit. Like, I love hosting people. Like, as you know, like anytime you're here, you're welcome to just crash wherever. Like, we always have a bedroom open, but I would love doing that, but not have roommates in the situation.
Because right now Aaron's doing this thing known as rent hacking. But basically he rents the house, and then he has roommates who cover most, if not sometimes, if he's lucky, the entire rent payment. So it just depends on the month and like how things work, but usually your rent is relatively cheap.
Yeah, I have super cheap rent, but that's because I've put myself into this situation. Like, honestly, if you're watching this, you should do it. I don't get why people aren't doing it. Maybe if you're making enough money, then don't worry about it. This is the reason that I've been able to start and run a business that I building up and not making money off the bat, right?
Because you have no expenses pretty much.
Yeah, because my expenses are completely like limited. Basically, what I'm doing is I have a house that I rented out off the bat, and then I made it really nice. So like, we're in my garage right now. This is basically a living room now. We have a bench press here. We have a 65-inch TV here. We have a podcast studio here, and this is just the garage. And then in the backyard, it's got AstroTurf down now. We planted flowers. We did the mulch. Made it look great back there. And then inside there's like nice couch. The basement has furniture where we can host people and have people crash on in the basement. And then every single room is furnished. So there's a lot of work that went into like getting in this way. But also I didn't spend much money on it because it was all Facebook Marketplace stuff. Like, everything was cheap. And that justifies me having cheap rent. But again, it's something where you do the work up front and you get rewarded for it long term. And I think a lot of people don't want to do the work up front, or don't see the possibilities down the line.
Did I tell you, so with my house, I'm not going as crazy as you, maybe one day, but for me, like, my mortgage payment is like $1,900 a month, and then I rent the room upstairs for, I give my buddy a good deal, so I rent it for $750 to him. So basically I pay the whole $1,900, but then I put his rent on the mortgage to pay it off quicker.
Yeah.
So like, it just like helps out.
Yep.
So yeah,
it
it's
just
been
makes
good.
sense. That's why the next thing that I need to do is just buy a house. Like if I was doing this same thing, but it was a house that I owned, at the end of the day, I have a free house. Like it's the same concept as when somebody gives us a car to manage and we manage it and we give them money towards the car. If they're financing it, realistically could go the entire time owning the car and never put actual like money out of their pocket into the car.
And if they're lucky and they buy the right car, they might even make money on top of that, and they probably will.
Yeah, most people do.
Especially if you manage it yourself 100%. If you have a management company, at the very least with us now, you'd probably get the car for free at the end of it.
We have a client, Juan, and he was managing his cars himself in Houston. Called me one day and he was like, Aaron, the car that you're managing for me is making more for me than my cars that I'm managing myself are making me.
It's because we're in Denver.
Number one, we're in Denver. And number two, we have the biggest and best profile in Denver. Like Christian's profile, if y'all look at it, he's got over like 1,200 trips and he is a power host and he only has 5-star reviews. Like he crushes the management. He's insane. And so when somebody puts their car onto his profile, they're immediately like one of Christian's cars, and they get managed as well as he possibly can because he just manages that way. And then everybody makes more money because he has such a good profile. And then you get people who put their car up themselves. And what we do for our clients is we actually get professional photos taken of the cars. Every single car that goes on the platform, professional photos taken at the parking lot that we talked about, and then professional description made. Then you get somebody who's managing their own car and they walk around with like an iPhone or even worse, an Android. They take like a few photos, put it up and expect to make money. Like everybody talks about making money on Turo. And they're like, why am I not making as much as I thought? Then they throw it onto our profile and the difference that you can see is ridiculous.
Yeah. I haven't yet talked to Christian. Like we haven't gone out and like filmed that part of everything, but I went to the airport today. I went to our parking lot and I saw a lot of cars, like literally aisles of cars. Each of our cars, we have these like plates and they have a number like 1, 2, 3, all the way up to like 80. And it's just crazy. I was like, what the heck? Like, this is such a cool fleet. And I haven't like gone out and filmed everything. So I wish I could break down like the client's profits. That's all going to be in the video, but it's going to be exciting to look at that. I'm hyped.
Yep. It's going to be great. Like
the client profit was always not our biggest issue.
No. Well, the issue was that the clients made all the money.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
That and like, yes, obviously we talked about the communication, but the clients always did decently well. Now they're obviously doing probably better than ever. I haven't like looked at the numbers, but it's crazy.
Yeah,
but
it's good. To give you guys an idea of kind of Will's position in the company, he was meant to come out and film all the exciting things happening in the fleet every so often and get people coming our way because they saw the videos and they're like, oh, I want to work with this company. Towards the end, it was just like us kind of just fixing issues all the time. He would come out with no plan of what to shoot.
What? Is that true?
Well, it seemed like, at least from my perspective, it seemed like you would come out, something would happen like while you were here, and then it would just end up being like a main thing in the video. Like, for example, the stolen car, right? So you would be out here. You literally told me while you were here, I don't know where this video is going. I don't know what to film. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to be the best video, is it? And then a car gets stolen and you were like, let's go. And you were so pumped because now there's something to make a video about,
That is true.
And so I think you honestly, like, you lost, like, you're a very creative person with your videos. And as you guys can see, like, since he has stopped making Arsenal Fleet videos, he's made like his dark web videos and he made like a poker video and all this stuff. And it seems like you're getting back to what you used to be doing with your page versus just like, because you're part of the company, you have to make a video about the fleet.
I felt like that a little bit sometimes, but I will say that, like, dude, in the beginning, Arson Fleet felt so fresh. I was so creative on it. But there's only so many times you can talk about the same stuff. Whereas, like, this video is cool because, like, we're kind of talking about some of the same stuff, but we're talking about what we're doing now with the fleet. Like, me leaving is a cool aspect. How much 80 cars makes versus how much 40 cars made. Like, that stuff's really interesting. Whereas, like, when we were kind of in that stagnant position where we were fixing issues, I was like, I am not too sure what to film about here.
Yep.
I feel like I could do more views with other types of videos. That was just like a struggle for me as well. Yeah. Also, I was supposed to like help with the Arslan Fleet channel. And that was tough with me not being out in Denver. I know that's funny, but like it's just hard to do a second channel when I don't live here.
Yeah.
And I thought about moving here actually, but then I was like, I didn't tell you this. But I was like, if I move here, I'm literally just going to be doing this business and I won't be able to film as much of like my other types of content, which honestly now I feel like I've kind of streamlined. Like, for example, the dark web videos, those are like videos I can kind of do not quick, but I could easily do that while doing this. But yeah, I was like worried about like transitioning my whole channel to just Turo stuff.
Yeah, which is totally fair. I think your channel doesn't need to be a Turo channel. And I think Turo, like, it's interesting to some capacity, but you're like the side hustle guy. You know, you have to make those videos. Dude, if you would have come out to Denver, that would have been kind of sick, though.
Yeah, I would be down. And who knows? I do like Denver as a city, so we'll see where I go, because I typically move. I don't know. People know this who watch my videos. I move usually every 6 months to 15 months. So, no, 15 months is cap. 4 to 7 months I move every 4 to 7 months.
So we'll see you in Denver soon.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? My goal right now is I want to keep the house I have because I bought a house in Milwaukee. I'm going to rent that out probably in the next year, honestly. Who knows? Maybe just rent out some rooms and then have a room to come back to and just like do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
That's kind of my plan. Just like be all over the place. I'm not someone who stays in one spot very long. But yeah, guys, long story short, I ended up leaving the business. I no longer have equity in the fleet. We technically need to make that official.
Yeah,
it is official, but it is official.
Handshake agreement.
Yeah, 100%. We have texts and shit, obviously.
Yeah,
too,
no,
so,
well, it's fine.
But yeah, we have to. I don't even know, like a contract, whatever. But yeah,
I think your videos are best suited when it's like make a video every like 6 months, because there's going to be genuine big changes. And I think that's why what we're moving towards with our partnership, whatever you want to call it, our relationship, I think that's why it makes way more sense what we're going to be doing now, because you're going to be getting affiliate payouts for anybody that comes on board with like Arslan Fleet.
Which is what we plan on doing to begin with. And then
you would have made so much more money from the start.
I would have made freaking... it's okay, though.
You would have made a lot more money from the start.
Yeah, I would have made a lot of money if I chose affiliate versus equity. But hey, I learned so much. I feel like it's worth not making as much money. And I mean, now we're just going to kind of do like an affiliate thing, like still boys. And it's just like, now we're kind of like each our own independent thing versus working together as a partnership. Partnerships are tough. Like people say this all the time. If you're in one, like you kind of understand that it's very rare that it actually works out, I feel like.
Yeah. And I think since kind of doing this whole thing solo, I've been able to make my own decisions on everything, which when you have like 5 different people just in your ear about like what to do, whatever you're doing, you're not going to make a good decision. I think any decision needs to be made by, one person.
The guy who knows the most. Like sometimes you would call us about like, oh, what should we do with the fleet? And like Chris doesn't know much about Turo. I am a shitty Turo host. Well, I'm a kind of bad Turo host, to be honest. And like you would call us about the fleet and like we're not out in Denver and we'd still have conversations about it. And I'm like, Aaron would probably be best for that decision versus like me and Chris should make certain decisions on some stuff. I usually took my own decisions on the videos. I was pretty good on like doing it like making the decisions on that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like you really don't want to have like too many like people you're talking to about every little thing, because that's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the future, dude. Like, I'm happy to be back out here. I have so much fun here every time. And, like, not only am I filming this video while I'm here, I'm filming a video on Airbnb with JR, who you're friends with. So I'm excited. Like, the future is going to be good. I was thinking about this on the plane. I'm like, I know this sounds crazy, but, bro, I'm, like, 21 now. And I'm, like, far out of high school now. It's like I'm, like, a full adult, basically.
Yeah, you're, like, a human. Dude, I'm 26. It's so dumb.
Do you feel weird or no? Or does that not matter?
I do feel like I'm a very childish person and like to make jokes and sometimes like inappropriate jokes, which is just fun.
Oh, I love that.
It's so fun.
We have so many podcasts that we couldn't release because we would say messed up stuff. And I don't care because I'm relatively open with my audience. I think they know where I stand on things. I'm so excited where the next 5 years go. Like I was thinking about this on the plane today. I don't know why I've been thinking about this so much lately, but I was like, damn, each day passes so quick. Like it's already October of 2023. Like 2 years ago, I was living in Madison. Like I don't know if I told you this. I went to like college. I took 2 classes. Not
told me
really.
that, yeah.
I didn't really go, but I was like 2 years ago, I like officially went full time, and it's like, it's been 2 years now. It's like each day has to count. Like you have to make the most of every single day. Like you can't waste days. And I hate doing that because like you only have a limited amount of time to like do what you want to do, and you got to make the most of it.
Yeah, that's the most stressful thing is like at some point you genuinely just have to make a lot of money. Like it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone's like, oh, you say this in your 20s, that doesn't matter. People are always like, oh, your 20s are to figure stuff out. I'm like, I don't know. Just like do your best. It is to figure stuff out, honestly, probably. But I mean, just try to kill it as early as you can. Like you can do it, but
yeah, I think people say that to relieve pressure, but like
fuck that.
Yeah.
I mean, if
I'm
you don't,
fine with the pressure.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
take it.
and if you don't make it till 30, so be it. But do your freaking best and don't make excuses like that.
Yeah.
Like you can do it at any age. I know 16-year-olds who make a shit ton of money, and it's not just about money. Just like having a successful business, like doing what they want to do for a living. Like they've figured it out. But
I have a friend who hates going out and drinking because he feels like he's wasting his time, but he just still does it because all of his friends do it.
Really?
How dumb is that?
That's stupid.
Like he's literally just going out all the time, drinking, spending all of his money.
Bro, I spend $200+ every time I go out drinking.
It's so dumb.
Because
yeah.
I always pay for shit for people because I'm like, oh, fuck it. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And
Big
then,
dog financial.
yeah, not even that. I just like want to be nice.
But there's so many people in that situation where they're like, oh, I want to like put my career or like make a business and put that first. And then they just don't take any action on that at all whatsoever. And it's just so dumb because you could just surround yourself with people that are doing that. Like I connected with JR and Phil. You know, JR is like my business mentor. I go to him for any questions about the business, and started hanging out with them. And they like don't party too much. Like they'll host parties and stuff, which is cool. Which we're going to his Halloween party.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and I mean, you just want better friends around you. Like for me, like my hometown friends, honestly, some of them are hustlers now, but they're like not business owners or anything. Like I have one friend, he sells cars, he slings cars. And like he's a little different than me because like yes, he parties and stuff, but that's why I travel like 50% of the time because I want to be around business people. Yeah,
it's really cool. And I would say I haven't really fully executed on this, but the podcast, like this shit that we're doing right now, not necessarily with you because I've already connected with you, but using that as a way to reach out to people that you just want to connect with is so cool. Like for example, there's this guy on YouTube, his name's Mike Hanna, and he is like this big health guy on YouTube, and I reached out to him and was like, hey man, I want to have you on a podcast, like I love your stuff. And then he gets back to me and he's like, yeah dude, like that sounds great. Right now I'm working on a business model. I'm trying to take on people for, you know, personal training. And he's literally just, he was asking me like questions about Turo and stuff, and then he was like, you know what, I'm looking for case studies to do the personal training program with me. And so now he's just training me for free. And so like that's just an example of a connection that I made after just sending one message. And if I continue with just like finding different cool people to reach out to, the success rate is so much higher than I thought it would be. Like I hit up this guy that has 200,000.
I read every message. I see every message. People think I don't see stuff. And honestly, sometimes I see stuff and I forget to respond, or I usually 90% of the time see stuff.
It's just a cool way to be able to reach out to people. Like make an excuse to reach out to people that you want to reach out to.
Dude, they see it.
Yes.
Most people see it. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Don't reach out in the same way that everybody else does.
Don't be like, oh, please put. You got to be like unique. That's the thing.
Yeah. And also, when you were like full scale pushing Arsenal Fleet, we would have some of your subscribers would hit us up and be like, hey, can I get a job? Like, I'll do some work for you. Like I'll do whatever. And they wouldn't tell me specifically like, hey, I can do this. Like this is my thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to know, like if you are reaching out to somebody to provide them with value, just don't be like, I'm going to help out. Just be like, hey, I think that I could help in this area, Like, this is what I'm really good at. I would love to work with you and possibly get like an internship with you. I'm not going to hire some random person because they told me that they want to work for me and they're going to be valuable, you know?
And at least what works for me, like to respond a lot of times, is when people tell me their story. Like I even showed you that email today. Like that probably won't go forward, but like people just telling me about their like life, like what they do business wise usually, because that's what my channel's about. Like for example, how you reached out to me about your business. I was like, oh, that's cool. People sometimes reach out to me and they're like, oh, I want a job. Teach me how to make money. I'm like, well, now I just like have to send you a message in like think about ways for you to make money. Like make it easy for them to respond. Like tell them about what you're doing already and like make it clear, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the only way to like get shit figured out is just start. Like,
just do
you got to do something. Do something to make yourself interesting and then connect with people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, start watching people on YouTube, like get ideas and just get going on whatever it is. And yeah. This was a good podcast.
This was fun. I had fun. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you made it this far, I'm impressed.
And if you have any tips on how to do better podcasts, like tips, because I'm new to this stuff too. So thank you guys for watching, and peace.
Peace.